Hey guys, welcome back to Lion in the Room, and this is episode 16. Happy holidays. And when it comes to holidays, the lovely thing about it is that we get to see family, we get to have this togetherness, and the stress of work, trying to make up with deadlines, even just going to school, for the kids. It's just something that you can push away for a few days and just enjoy the time you have. And when it comes to faith, of course, for Christians, for my faith, we use this time to celebrate, the birth of Christ, because we believe that with the birth of Christ, salvation was brought into the world. And, you know, we have been given an opportunity as human beings who can be misguided and fall into temptation. We are now given the opportunity to be guided back to God through Christ, you know? And to everyone else, believers of other religions, you use this opportunity to enjoy your togetherness and enjoy peace and enjoy love, But hey, this is your host, the one and only Leo. I would say this is a solo episode. K's out, and I'd say all the other guys are enjoying the time with family. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and since you guys get to enjoy my voice for most of this episode, if not, the whole episode anyways, let's have a little recap. I'd like to take you guys through everything, the whole shabam of how Lion in the Room started, with episode 1 and where we are now, because everything about this journey has been very insightful for me. It's not my first time doing a podcast, or it's not my first time attempting a podcast, but it's the longest I've held it for. And it's a really good feeling. It's a really great feeling, honestly, because it was an idea that was, brought over to me by a friend, and I was initially helping him. Now I'm doing it myself, and I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I've always been someone that likes to talk. I've always been someone that enjoys the sound of my own voice. No. But I've always been someone that has enjoyed talking and talking with other people, because through talking with people, you're always going to get to learn a new perspective, learn how a person thinks, learn, the mantras that people hold dear to their own lives. And I enjoy that because I feel like it's always nice to learn something new. And I'm a curious person. If you ever asked my parents if there was one word they'd use to describe me, my mom and my dad would definitely say curious. They definitely say I'm a curious person, because curiosity can take you so far. For me now, if I got a new camera, for example, and I didn't read any of the instructions, I feel like my curiosity will take me through most, if not all, the settings, and then I'm able to start the camera and just use it to a certain degree. But obviously, you need to go through more advanced guidelines to get the best out of your equipment. But a little story time before I go back into the recap. When I was younger, I loved Legos. As you can tell, I still have these now. And well, one's my brother's and then one's mine. I've always enjoyed building things. I've always enjoyed putting things together. I enjoy using my hands, playing around with stuff and making things, sometimes out of nothing, sometimes with instructions. And it's really enjoyable. It's a nice hobby, and I feel like it's something that I can do to pass the time. Hopefully, honestly, I feel like I'd get more time as the new year comes, but I want to be able to have something fun to do, building Legos. It doesn't really need me to move around too much, put those together, have them around. They're like artwork in a sense, because some of them are based off of already existing images, already existing art pieces, or very crucial characters in films. But I really love Legos, and I'm really just a curious guy that just likes to put stuff together, But back to the recap with the podcast, I use that curiosity to find out ways to make it better, ways to improve my vocabulary, ways to work on my speech, ways to make this podcast a lot more engaging. And I definitely say that I've seen a lot of improvement. My family tells me that there is a lot of improvement as well, from episode one in terms of things like lighting, sound. We've gone from using a Tascam recorder. It used to be on my table. I would have shown you guys. It's over there. We went from using a two plug in Tascam recorder to using the Rodecaster Pro 2, which is a big jump, and it's been really helpful. I'm able to record with a lot more people and the sound is so clear. Of course, I still do some post editing, working on like some voice isolation just in case there's any unwanted sounds. I live very close to the train, so that can be quite a hassle in terms of the listening experience, but it's it's been really nice just getting new equipment and learning how to use them, because what will be the point in me having these and not using them to my best ability, or to its best ability. It's like having potential. Here I go. It's about having potential. It's like having potential and just not making the most out of it, especially when you're told that you have so much potential. Imagine, I mean, think about it. You don't even need to imagine. We're all we're all special people. We're all unique individuals with our own differences. So everyone has the potential to be something, to be, excuse me, everyone has the opportunity to be something great, That's where your potential comes in. It might just be a glimmer. It might just be something like a flickered light, in a tunnel, but it's something you then have to work on. It's something you then have to improve on. If not, your potential then becomes wasted. And a lot of people don't sit down talking about how much potential you have unless you're doing good, like a football player, like a Haaland, an Erling Haaland. If now he's not playing so well in the Premier League, no one's really talking about how much potential he has. Everyone feels like he has worked on that potential and he's become such a great player. He's now skilled with the talent, but he's also technically driven and gifted. But if he's not able to score in front of goal, no one's going to be like, oh, well, he's a kid with a lot of potential. I know he'll bounce back. And even if they do say that, that's only going to last for a certain amount of time. So we always have enough potential. We always have, if anything, a lot of potential. You just need to be able to make the most out of it. So with the equipment that I have, I want to try and make the most out of it. This camera that I'm using over here is the Sony A7 IV, a camera that came out probably 2 to 3 years ago, and it's a very lovely camera. I had some issues with the overheating because I was recording it in a certain setting. I end up going to watch a video and then they tell me what to do, and you see the little improvement. The camera's not going to cut. I don't have any issues with recording, and playback is so easy. So you need to be able to use your items to the best of your ability. And for you as a person, you also need to sit down and lock in, lock in on that potential and push on it, push past, and just, you're just there. What was that? You're just there. So that's what I definitely say about, the equipment. Going into creating episodes or finding inspiration for those episodes, I'd say that's probably the hardest thing I've had to do. Finding inspiration or finding what episode to talk about. Now, I'm the kind of person that likes to sit down and think, but sometimes I might just get under pressure from overthinking. But when it came to picking people, I just started picking my friends. I wanted to pick my friends that were available and were making themselves available, because right now I'd say everyone's on their own different side mission. Everyone's really trying to make a name for themselves in any aspect that they are focused on. So obviously, big ups to them. Kay has been working obviously in his own career, said obviously so many times, but he made himself available for us. He came in as a co-host, And it was really appreciated because for him as a person, he would also learn, he would also work on his communication skills. And in his job, I believe communication is still key. So when it comes to things like that, it was easy because I could talk to my friends. Like, it was easy talking to my friends. I am someone that's ready to talk to new people, but sometimes it can be a bit hard. So when you're bringing on someone that you've probably just met as an acquaintance or someone you've seen that lives in your area but is very influential or inspirational or just has something that you feel they can share, something important that they can share to others, I would I would just hope that, okay, this guy's not gonna think the podcast is corny or nothing, you know. They're just gonna be like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. Because I try to make this space as comfortable as possible, you know, physically and metaphorically. This podcast is literally just an opportunity for me to learn, but the space and the presence that we will gradually grow is going to be used to inspire, you know, to inspire others to still have a good time, you know, jokes all around, but at the end of it, you learn something. That's the whole point of Lion in the Room. And going back to, you know, picking my friends or picking the people that I've brought on so far, I feel like I've been able to pass the message across. Like, it's not crazy, but I've imagine the 50 viewers or the 200 viewers, you know, in one room listening to you. That's a lot of people to me. So I feel like I'm really, or we are really getting that message out there. And as long as you guys enjoy it, you enjoy the sound of my voice, and you know, the message is getting passed across, then I feel like I am doing a good job. I've been talking, I've not even spoken about, like, you know, particular episodes. I'll use my friend Lana, TikTok, and his Instagram is Monsieur Lana. I'd use Lana, bringing him on. Now, bringing him on was a last minute option because unfortunately one of my guys couldn't make it, so we had to cancel that recording with him. But I still wanted to record that day, so I just thought, why not just message Lana? We don't talk, like, you know, we're not like the best of pals, and that was kind of like the first time he came into my living space, you know. But in explaining what I would have required from him, you know, coming down, you know, what we'd be talking about. We were talking about parties. We were talking about parties and, you know, the influences, how we make friends, the kind of parties we go to, and, you know, self-awareness when you go out. And he was happy to come on. Luckily for us, he was free, you know, but with him coming on, he brought this energy that I don't. I don't put out. I'm a very chill guy, you know, but Lana is very outspoken, you know, sometimes maybe a bit loud, but I feel like that's just him enjoying the conversation he's having, or if anything, what he's thinking of makes him joyful or energetic just thinking about it, you know, and we really just enjoyed having him on. So it felt like he just fit for that episode. Doesn't mean he's a party animal or anything like that, but he was very helpful coming down. So a very big thank you to you, Lana. But he was also just just fun to listen to, fun to have on the podcast. And I want to believe that, hey, I've made a friend, and that's definitely someone I can connect with. And hopefully we bring him back on the podcast. Another person would be Oge. Now, Oge was our debut guest on our pilot episode. So everything regarding that episode at the time was like practice, like a little tutorial, you know, getting ready for what we're doing now. Because, you know, if you can remember, we had angles from from this side, to the right for you, but the left for me, facing the couch, and we had to split ourselves up in a way that we couldn't see ourselves in our separate cameras. It really was an enjoyable time, and we were it was around the time that I came back from Nigeria after seeing family. You know, I hadn't been to Nigeria for a while. Like, the last time I went back was when my sister graduated from high school, and now she's graduated from university. So It was a really long time. I didn't really go to too many places. I mean, there's so much that's happened. The place has changed, but it was an enjoyable trip. So coming back, I was coming back with a resolve. I wanted to have things that I wanted to do. I wanted to have projects that I could work on. So I had spoken with Ogie and I was like, yo, bro, this is what I want to do. I want you to come on the podcast. Would you be able to? And he's like, yeah, man. He was still trying to make a way for himself as well. Like, shout out his Instagram, Oge underscore the underscore actor. Oge the actor, basically, if you type it as it is, you will find it, or his full name, Oge Ujam. You should be able to see his TikToks, his Instagram reels, some of his acting tapes. It's really motivational. So him coming on and still having to work on his pieces as well was helpful, and we really appreciated it. But it showed that to be successful or to be amongst successful people, you have to work hard. You have to put yourself out there, and a lot of times you have to outwork, the people around you. So him coming on was nice. We didn't talk about anything really, really motivational. It was just kind of like reminiscing and talking about experiences. He did talk about his theater experience when he traveled. And that's just the thing. Your aspirations are going to take you to so many different places, and sometimes it's going to be scary. I can attest to it. I get scared thinking about what's going to happen in the future if I came out of my comfort zone, for example. But a lot of times I unknowingly come out of my comfort zone when I need to go do something I'm used to. Let's say you want to go down to a convenience store, you really want to buy something in particular, but you're in a different town. It's your friend's town. You may not be as bothered, you know, because you're just going to the convenience store, but you're in a new place, you're in a different town. For some people, that's such a big problem. For another person, it's easy. They'll just go find that convenience store. But if you had to take someone if you had to go with somebody to a particular place that the two of you did not know about, that's kind of different. I really hope that makes sense. I really hope those two instances make sense. But if you were in a different town with somebody else that also wasn't from there, and the two of you had to find a particular place to go, maybe get something to eat, because the two of you are unsure, it kind of causes you to feel a bit more uncomfortable, unless you're the most confident person in the world. But through communication, through, speaking with other people, asking the locals where to go and things like that, you find your way. But all I'm just trying to say is that you need to be able to come out of your comfort zone, You need to be able to find yourself in hard situations sometimes. Don't put yourself in situations that you can't come out of. I'm not telling you to go and um put yourself at risk, but put yourself in a situation where you can improve, but it will be tedious. Yeah, that makes sense. Like going to the gym. You want to increase in size. I may not know all the terms, but I'll try to explain it the best I can. You want to increase in size. Maybe you want a bigger chest. For the ladies, you want a bigger bum. And it's easy for you to push a certain weight. Maybe now it feels as though you're toning your muscles and your rep range is increased. Now it's time to add extra weight. You add that extra weight and you start to struggle a bit when you reach maybe half of the reps you normally push. Now it's getting a bit difficult, but that's good, because the next time you come, the difficulty will reduce. You may not notice, but the difficulty will reduce. You've come out of your comfort zone, but eventually, where you've placed yourself will become another comfort zone. So you're going to have to come out again. You can relax and stay where you are, but you might as well just be the best there. To those that are willing to come out of their comfort zone, just keep grinding, because you will inevitably have to leave that comfort zone again, to keep improving. That's just the thing. As human beings, we'll always have to improve. I'm not saying that average isn't great, average isn't fine, but you should want more. I want more as a person, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to believe that you can get that, because there's no one else that's going to push you but you. That was a nice little recap. we're going to get into the main topic. Our main topic of this episode is going to be identity. So, identity is it's a very wide term. Obviously, to define it, identity is just, the way something looks or the way something is classified or the way something, I guess, seems to be based off of how you see it, how it smells like, what it tastes like, but we're going to go a lot deeper than that. This is Lion in the Room. I'm your host, Leo, and let's keep it going. Yes, guys, I'm back. Lion in the Room, episode 16. So I said we're going to be talking about identity. And like I said, identity is it's a very broad term. It's a very broad term now. But in all honesty, in my personal opinion, it should be very simple to explain identity. Whenever I type the meaning or I ask Google, for example, the meaning of identity, the first thing that comes out, obviously as a noun, from definitions from Oxford Languages, the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. An example it gives is he knows the identity of the bombers. A close similarity or affinity. Another example is an identity between the company's own interests and those of the local community. Now, if you asked me, Leo, how would you define identity for a person? I would say identity is what defines you. You know, there is identity in fashion. There is identity in work. Your identity is spread across, life. You know, you're born into the world and you already have your identity. You're an individual. So you're always going to be unique. A lot of people growing up, I struggled with identity. Um, and it was never really a case of asking myself who I was, but it was always a case of why did people say this or that about me? Like bullying, for example. I'm a very tall guy, 6'5", and I didn't like it. I didn't used to like it when I was much younger. And my mom would tell me a story that I'm going to tell you guys as well. When I was in primary school, I don't remember it completely, but my classmates used to make fun of me. Some of my classmates used to make fun of me for being so tall. I was, towering over kids. I remember seeing some of those pictures, like getting ready for graduation out of primary 5, and I would be huge. you know, Obviously, I'd be huge. And it was so easy to see the difference. You would think I was primary 6 or I was already in secondary school, but I had that, that chubby, innocent face. So you have these kids that are smaller than you picking on you. I'm not a bully, so I never really felt as though, the small needed to be picked on. But when I think about it, it's like it was always the opposite people, the people that were different, that seemed different to me, that picked on me. They'd make fun of your height, and then I got into secondary school, still not knowing what was so great about being tall, because people were making fun of me. I had a senior, this guy cracked such a dry joke, like, and his boys still laughed, punishment or whatever. And then the guy called me latitude or longitude or whatever, and everybody laughed. But even to me, I felt like that was a dead joke, But with people picking on me for being tall, it was always bittersweet, you know. Now, my mom, when I was in primary school, would pick me up and I was sad. Oh, what's wrong? Why are you so sad? Oh, why's my baby crying? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I tell her I'm upset that these guys are picking on me, calling me names, saying I'm so tall, giant, beanstalk, little things. I may not remember, but hey, kids are cruel, so my mom would, and she still does now, would talk to me, make me understand or make me see why what they're saying are just words. When you're a kid, You think about these words so much. And even as we get older, we get so overwhelmed by words, what people say to us about us. And we're like, at 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 that point in of vulnerability, we're like, why are you saying these things? Bruv, who cares what they're saying? First of all, because this person that's saying things about you most likely has people saying stuff about them, you know? And then you begin to identify yourself based off of what people say about you. Why do you think it's so hard for you to believe the best about yourself? And this is one thing I dislike about myself, because I could say something that could be so motivational, or I could see past the lies, or I could see past, the hurtful words, but I still end up falling down like everyone else. Well, my people, it's just to let you know I'm human, just like you're human, just like you have the ability to hurt others with your words, so can they. Just as you can find it hard to know who you are and appreciate who you are, so can others. So my mom would then say, look at your friend. I don't know if I should say his name, but he was really short. He's really short. He's a good friend. He was a good friend of mine. Well, obviously, you haven't spoken in such a long time, but he was a very good friend of mine in primary school. We'd hang around. We talk about Bakugan. We talk about all these shows on Cartoon Network. And she'd be like, look at this guy and look at his dad. His dad's so short. Do you think he would be a giant and his daddy would be so small? And you would laugh. You'd laugh. Oh no, mommy. Okay. And it made sense at the time, but at another time, it was an issue understanding that, because you don't always have your mom or your family or your friends coming to tell you, hey, come on, look at this. Oh, forget about all that. So we end up focusing on what people say about us. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're doing something bad and someone starts judging you based on that wrongdoing, it's now in your best interest to change. But you should also still forget about what people say about you. Now, I'm not talking about I'm not particularly talking about doing bad and then having people identify you for your wrongdoings, but I am just speaking mainly on allowing what anyone says about you to identify who you are as a person. Because the more you dwell on maybe harsh words or people picking on you or racist comments, the more you will feel like that's you. Racism, people can say whatever they want to me, but I want to believe that I know who I am. I know who my mom says I am, my dad says I am, and I know who God says I am. So for a person to stoop so low to classify me as what they feel is correct in their head, come on, man. I'll let you focus on whatever's in your head, bro. Just let me do me. So for all of you, my people out there, your identity means so much to you. And another quote, or if anything, a quote, because I ain't read any quotes to you guys so far. A quote that I found by a man called Julian Barnes. He said, you are what you have done. What you remember is what defines you. And we have already lived a long life. 365 days is already quite long. Imagine having to go to work for a particular promotion for 365 days. Sit down, think about it. 365 days, 24 hours, an hour, 30 minutes. That's already quite long. You know what I mean? So when you realize that I almost forgot the quote. When you realize that you are what you've done and what you remember is what defines you, you now need to start thinking about what you're remembering. What are these things in your past that keep popping back in your head? Are they the positive things? Are they the lovely things that you can appreciate? Are they the times where you had fun with family? Are there times when you were successful, when you achieved? Or are these the times when there was conflict? Are these the times when there were disagreements? Are these the times when you failed? What are you reminding yourself? If you're reminding yourself of the negative, then you are going to feel like you are a negative person. There are negative people, but everybody has the opportunity to identify themselves in a much, much, much more positive way, in a better light. Everybody has a chance to be who they need to be. And who you need to be will always be a benefit to the society, will always be a benefit to the people around you, will always be a benefit to yourself and a benefit to God, because you'll be able to spread the message and people will see you and see your life as an example. In this life, you can't meet so many different people and not leave an imprint on them. That is why you're an individual. That's why we have our individuality, so that we may imprint our good values, our good morals on others. Imagine you have a friend with a completely different sense of family values. And one of those things is something that is generally seen as wrong. Now, you come from a good home, lovely family values, your parents have brought you up in love. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been conflict, but you've been able to overlook that and find ways to resolve it. That friend should be able to see what is in your life that is good and, pick it, you know, take from you, not always taking the bad. So I really believe that for people, your identity is unique. You should think back to more of the happy times, to remind yourself of your successes and to remind yourself that you can achieve. And if you feel like, oh, well, Leo, I can't really remember any times, that's okay. Tell yourself that tomorrow's going to be a good day. Another quote that I saw, it was a motivational one this time, but it says, one positive thought at the start of your morning can change your whole day. Bro, I could wake up and I'm in such a terrible mood. I'm in such a down mood, maybe because of what happened to me yesterday or what was said to me or what I experienced at the workplace. But if I think about that, regardless of whether I'm thinking of, well, the next person that does that to me, I'm ready for you in my mind. I've thought about everything I'm going to say, bro. Comeback season. You're going to do that, but your day is still going to feel pretty shitty. Sorry for my language, but you're still going to feel kind of bad because you're reminding yourself of what happened yesterday. I experience it. I feel like I know what I'm talking about. I experience those kind of things and you don't need that. People, we really don't need that. So try to remember the good. Remember the good more. Um, Remember the people that are also telling you about how great of a person you are. Now, don't get me wrong. If you are actually someone that is, not that great of a person or a great friend, or maybe you are that said bully, if people did that to you in the past, like, and you didn't like it, why do you have to continue it? If you saw people doing that and you felt a type of way seeing another person being picked on, why do you have to continue that cycle? Why do you have to be a part of that? Because that's how you're choosing to identify yourself. You're the one losing. Come to this side, you come and see that, like your fingers, none of them are equal. None of them are the same, but they all work differently, individually, to make this hand. A lot of you are so quick to make a fist or to grab a weapon, but your fingers all need, to be the length and sizes that they are to do what you do. That's just the way we are. So I think there's a lot more um when it comes to our identity. When you even think about your fashion sense or identity through fashion, you look the nice little snapback that I got from a Secret Santa. It's a nice style. I feel like if the way I dress is a nice, comfortable street style, sometimes casual street style, still wearing some baggy clothes, maybe a nice jacket on and some baggy trousers. I feel like that's comfy. That's comfy streetwear, you know. That's how I like to dress. And if anyone that sees me would identify me based on off of my clothing, it would be very easy. Or they might say, oh, this guy likes to dress like this particular rapper because I like how the rapper dresses. But my personality, which is also part of my identity, should not change. My personality is who I am, who I've grown into being. For me as a person, my personality has been brought up the way it has been by my parents and by my siblings, and seeing the things I've experienced in this life, you realize that a lot of the morals that you have are morals that you've held on to from being a little kid. Some people drop some and pick up some new morals, and that's normal. But those are the things that also identify you or play a really big part in identifying who you are as a person. Um, hmm. I think I've made a good touch on this. What was the last thing I was gonna say? Hmm. Use myself as an example. Little struggles. Describe my fashion stance. Understanding your value. I think that's the last I'm going to say about identity. You know, you see some shoes, you can guess how much they are. You're probably going to be right. You're probably going to be wrong. You're never going to know. Unless, you made the shoes, or you see a Gucci bag. Gucci bags have different prices, for different sizes, different leather, material types, product codes, that kind of thing. As a person, we are extremely valuable because we're so different. You know, an intellectual man is so valuable in a particular setting. A powerful man or woman is also valuable in a particular sport. Sometimes, even in a a particular position, and you realize that you need to be where it's best for you to really understand your value. When you struggle with identity, it is normally because you are losing your value. You may not think about it in a sense of value, but let's say you're following the wrong crowd and you start to see this peer pressure. There wouldn't be peer pressure if there wasn't something wrong. You know what I mean? If there wasn't a bad experience, there wouldn't be any form of peer pressure. If there wasn't something that was seen as wrong by others, there wouldn't be a reason to stop back and think. You know what I mean? So in cases like that, you realize that hmm, you're struggling to completely get on with this lifestyle or this little thing that you're about to do, because at that point, it's like your value is either going to go up or go down based on what you're going to do there. And people will always value you differently. The right people will see how valuable you are, especially if there's something they can learn from you, pick from you, a trait that they can add to themselves. But when you realize that you're losing value, probably because of the things you do or the things you say or what people know you for, a lot of people then start to have things like identity crises, or the little plural. A lot of people then start to wonder what they're doing with their lives, where they're going. Just calm down. 24 hours in a day, there's so much you can achieve. There's so much you can achieve, and there's so much you can work on yourself. You just need to give yourself time. It's like, when you're trying to figure out the cost of something, whether you're going to sell it or buy it, you take some time to think about it, right? So take some time to think about yourself. What makes you valuable? And the first thing that makes you very valuable is the fact that you are loved. You are very loved. I'm loved. That's how it is. All right, guys. I think I've done pretty well. This has been a lovely episode. I have really just enjoyed doing this by myself because truthfully, for me as a person, sometimes it can be hard because I feel like I'm talking to myself, and God, how do you manage to get a script ready, the things that you want to talk about? It can be so frustrating. But I think this has been pretty good. I like how I put two cameras so I can look at two different angles. They're pretty much the same, but hey, it's a nice little bit. So to before I get to my conclusion on today's episode, I have a few questions. I have a few questions I'll be answering. Um, so I really hope that you guys enjoy or you appreciate and understand my answers because I want to be able to share what I think to people, share how I feel about things, situations, just what I think, and because everyone has an opinion and everyone has an opportunity to listen to other opinions, it's not a must to believe or to follow an opinion squarely, but hey, at least you've heard what I have to say. So let's get on with it. The first question I have here is, when do you feel it's best to resolve conflict with a loved one? Now, conflict is something that needs to be resolved the best way possible. And normally, the best way possible has to also be quite quick. You can't rush people to forgive you, and you can't rush people to see their wrongs. A lot of times you might go through an argument, and hey, we all grow and we all learn. We're all growing, sorry. So we're learning as we go, but sometimes we don't know how to keep our emotions in check. You may end up saying something hurtful and it makes it very hard to resolve that conflict. I have conversations with my girlfriend and sometimes we get into arguments. Let's say I don't control myself and I say something hurtful, it makes it harder for her to want to even hear my apology. It makes it harder for her to even want to resolve it because I've hurt her. It's not because she is hard to work things around with. It's not because she's so stubborn, but you realize that you've hurt a person with what you said. So that person is a lot less inclined to, resolve it. It's like, why? You didn't want to resolve it when you said what you said, you know what I mean? It's not always the best way to think like that, but it's sometimes justified. So what do you do when you feel well, when do you feel it's best to resolve conflict? I believe it's best done, as soon as possible, especially when you realize that, hey, okay, this argument took a very huge turn. Things were said, and I'm very sorry for it. Regardless of when, the apology is accepted, at least you have apologized. A lot of times people think the quick apologies are not sincere enough, but that really just depends on the person. When do I feel it's best? When do I feel it's best to resolve conflict? As soon as possible. It's not easy, but the sooner you do it, the better because things will gradually die down. Yeah, things will gradually die down. And second question, do you believe in true love? Now, when I saw this and I was writing it down, I was like, oh, the thing is like, true love is, in my opinion, very hard to find. In this day and age, it's very hard to find because love has now been determined by so many other things. You know, men and women determine a person's love for them based off of maybe their actions or just their words, or you know, sexual healing, you know what I mean? But you me, I don't believe in true love. I don't believe that you hmm huh. I believe in true love, but I believe true love is sacrificial love. You know, you find someone or you see someone you like, you see them based off of their appearance first, right? You get to know them, they get to know you, they show maybe their caring qualities, and you grow to love them, right? Now, that person who you're getting to know shows you one nasty trait, a red flag, as some ladies call it. And some people are ready to call it quits. Well, I've not been specific on, the nasty trait, but let's say the person is mean when they're frustrated. It's a hard day at work, not enough money, or you're not even helping. It's like, oh, well, it's easy for you to say, you just get money given to you. That's a hurtful thing to say. I mean, in a moment of your frustration, but that person still, I want to believe, still most likely loves you. You know what I mean? So true love is sacrificial. It is also understanding. It is patient. Love is a very, very wide, it's a very huge word, with so many definitions. But I want to believe that love has so many traits. That's the thing. This is the issue with doing a podcast by yourself. You have to, to justify and think about everything that you're saying. But love is a very huge word, and it's classified by so many traits. Patience is a very big one. Sacrifice is a very big one. Understanding is a big one as well. Now, if you meet a person that has all these traits, I mean, at the beginning, then great. They're not always going to be a bad person, but great, you've met a person with lovely qualities. But true love is always there for you, you know? True love is understanding, true love is patient, true love is kind. You know, I feel like the the embodiment of love is is just warm, and it's something that cannot be easily shaken. I do believe in true love. I believe people will find true love, if they take their time and follow a proper process. You can be head over heels for somebody, but you have to remember that your life still continues, you know? And a person that loves you will never take advantage of you, will never take advantage of you for what you have as well. And, you know, they don't come with expectations. Um, you know, you can't really come expecting a person to be a particular way for you to fall in love with them. I don't think that makes sense. Now, I think one of the reasons why I didn't believe in true love was because there were so many factors that determined a person's love, which just felt silly to me. You know what I mean? But true love is there when people truly understand why they love why they love each other. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. The third question, second to the last: how do I start saving money at a young age? Now, we all live different lives. We all have different upbringings. We all come from different upbringings and different homes. So not everyone is going to have the same path. That's a given. So for a young person, depending on how young you are, I want to believe you'd be a teenager. So if you want to save, if you're not working, but sometimes you get money given to you, try and take out some money. Try and take out a little bit of money. If you can, take out 10 or 20%. As a Christian, I give 10% of my earnings, money that's given to me, I give it back to God. And by giving it back to God, I give it to my mother, who then prays over the money and uses the money for um like helpful, beneficial purposes, like maybe like paying for healthcare or paying for an orphanage or funding an orphanage. So take maybe like 10%, 20% of what you have. 10% of £100 is £10, you know what I mean? So it's saving little by little, but you are learning how to gradually save. Once you do that, you will inevitably learn how to manage your money, because when you get used to saving money for a rainy day, you then start to appreciate it a bit more. Uh Aside from brothers like me that like to that like to spend money. Oh, it's really good to save. It's really good to save, because the more you learn to save, the more you learn to appreciate what you have and what you don't have. You know what I mean? So for a young person, how do you start saving money at a young age? You just start by taking out whatever little you can. Start by taking out little, because when you start with little, I believe it wouldn't inconvenience you. You know what I mean? If you have to pay bills, you're working and you're also taking care of somebody, someone that's depending on you, then you can't take, you know, um, half of that money you have, or leave yourself with only the amount of money you need to take care of that person. You still need to have a little bit of surplus, a little bit of surplus. So I believe that you should start with saving small, because with saving small, you're then going to amass a certain amount, and then you can gradually start looking at investing. The lovely thing about technology, social media, and the World Wide Web today is that these are things that you can do from your home, and young people can learn it as well. I would never advise a young person to go into anything that is recommended to be used, at a more mature age. But start off slowly. If you can get a job, that would be great. Get a job that pays you weekly. So it feels like you're saving money, you know. You could be working at a job that pays you monthly, and maybe that money just finishes. You've exhausted your pocket. So you don't really know what to do now. But if you're able to save money week by week, it should probably be better. But you never know. I would definitely say, my mom also says, save up what you can, and don't just, when you get money, don't say you can't save because you got so much stuff to do. Just try and put a little bit, because that little bit can help you save up a lot more. I really hope I'm making sense. And the last question here is, or is anything the statement? I feel like time is moving so fast. Is there any way I can slow it down? Any way you can slow life down, slow time down? Unfortunately, no. What you can do to make the best of your time, now that's a different situation. Now, I'll use myself as an example. I, as a person, used to feel like time moved so slow. Like I could be playing a video game, waiting for another game to download. Let's say Wi-Fi isn't a problem when I was a kid, and I would be waiting. A game's meant to finish in 3 hours. Oh my God, 3 hours. That's crazy. So you're just there playing FIFA or whatever. You finish playing like 5 games in your career mode, finish taking some people to physiotherapy, because you're the manager and whatever, and your game has only moved by maybe 50 minutes. That on its own can be so frustrating. But as you get older, you just feel like you don't have time anymore. It really just depends on what you're doing. So if you're working, maybe you work a 9 to 5, or depending on where you're working from midday to evening, like the start of the evening or the start of nighttime. You get back home and you're exhausted. You feel like you've taken off your shoes, only just your shoes, and it took you 5 minutes to do so. But you realize that like there's so much you want to do, but you're probably just thinking about, oh, I'm tired, or work was a good day, or work was a stressful day. You're really just focusing, you're zoning in on the particular things that happened. Or you might be procrastinating, you know, and procrastination is one of the things that people struggle with a lot. It's understandable. But when it comes to, making the best out of your time, and not feeling like time is moving so fast, try to get some things accomplished. Try and accomplish a task. It could be cleaning your bathroom, it could be cleaning up your room, it could be watching a show, if you're choosing to relax for the day, it could be watching a show. So you can always find different things to do in your time. It's when you sit down saying that, yeah, you have nothing to do and you don't find anything to do, you're just going to be lazing away. Time's just going to move and you have no other excuse. Or you just have poor time management. Now, these are not things that are bad. They're not terrible. Everyone probably goes through bad time management or something, kids that come late to class or whatever, for example. You just have to be able to manage the things you want to do. Don't, like, if you're in boarding school, don't take a shower just because the porter just told you to take a shower. Take a shower because you know that you have to leave the hostel by, I don't know, maybe like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So you take your shower at 6:30, 6:45, and then you have the whole of 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock to get ready. No, put your trousers on, you got a little homework, you do the homework, or you're getting ready for work. It's just time management, I think, because regardless, you could be having such a lovely time with somebody, and through that conversation, you've already spoken for 20 minutes. It really You really just need to take control of your life, take control. And the way I say that, or the reason why I say that, is because we let ourselves just, go with the flow. Like, it's like you're moving on autopilot. Particular things are okay, when you leave it on autopilot. But when you realize that you wake up, first thing you do is you pick up your phone and you're not really taking time to just, I saw someone online call it defrosting, when you wake up and people are already throwing things at you when they're just not going to let you defrost. You just sit at the edge of your bed and you just take some time to appreciate the fact that you have woken up. That's one. For me, I pray. So we thank God for waking us up, because we don't wake up by ourselves. You know what I mean? After doing that, it's like, okay, what else do I have to do today? And you then start to act accordingly. So I feel it's really just having better time management and making the best of the time that you already have. I'd say, yeah. Those are the questions, and a big thank you to you guys for sending me those questions. There were like a few more, probably like three more, but I've done this for close to an hour now, so I think this is where we're going to call it. This has been Lion in the Room, episode 16. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I want to say another big thank you for your support. We passed 100 subscribers in 4 months, if anything less than 4 months, because I started off September, and I'm just grateful. I never really believed that, truthfully, at some point, I didn't believe I'd be able to get back into podcasting because I spoke about it so much, but I was so focused on the struggles that I was going through. And now I'm recording an episode by myself and I feel comfortable. I feel fine. And I'm happy to do this again. I'm happy to come out and post this stuff. And I'm really appreciative to the fans, wherever you guys are, all over the world it may be, or from back at home in Nigeria, over here in the UK. Um, Lots of love and thank you very much, really, because it's not been easy, you know, picking yourself up when you feel like you have so many shattered pieces on the floor. It can be very stressful, but I have such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful family beside me. They're not behind me, they're beside me. I got a lovely girlfriend, I got great friends, and a great audience, because I really believe that this is going to go far. And by God's grace, you guys are going to be here with me. So a big Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. Enjoy your time with your family. take some time and appreciate the year. We are very lucky to still be alive today. So we need to make the best out of every situation. Yeah. You have to fight for life, you know, and you have to show that you are worth every tussle. You are worth every left, right. You know what I mean? You're worth it, but you have to show that you're worth it as well. Everything is the mindset. I think the last quote that I will give you guys is, or just, embrace individuality. So happy I said that word. Right. Embrace individuality because you are on your journey of self-discovery. Your life is not going to be like anyone else's. You're not going to be like anyone else. So embrace the fact that you're different. Trust yourself, trust God, but you're different. That's the truth. Anyone that tries to pick on you for that does not like the fact that they are different. So come on, let's just all come together in our differences and have a good time. Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching this podcast, tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Pass it on to your friends. Let your mom know. Let her know that there is a guy with such a good voice and speaks so well. 23 years old as well. All glory to God, people. Take care of yourselves. Lion in the room. Peace.